Whenever you're ready, we're going to start seated today. So find a comfortable position. I always like to sit up higher on a little something. I'm going deluxe comfort today. I'm going to put a little blanket down underneath my legs, sitting the hips up high. And I'm going to even add my blocks in underneath my knees just so I'm just so supported. Feel free to try a couple different positions, maybe even coming to sit up on a chair or your couch or what have you. Maybe you sit your back up against a wall or some kind of support. And as you start to settle in, just let your body take any little wiggles or movements that just feel necessary. And then eventually finding your way to some restful stillness, if that feels right to you. Maybe closing your eyes or just kind of softening your gaze. Noticing the alignment and the sensations through the spine and the back. As if we could lengthen the spine upward, just sitting up a little taller. And then noticing up at the top there for reaching or straining too hard, trying to just be so good. We don't have to. We can relax a little bit as well. And feeling the shoulders, depending on your day. Sometimes it's like really easy to round the shoulders forward. So maybe just broadening through the collarbone slightly. Your hands wherever they want to be, maybe resting on your knees or your thighs, or even holding on to opposite arms. Finding our proper oral posture, sealing the lips and softening the jaw just enough so that there's a little tiny space between the biting surfaces of your teeth, and then resting or gently pressing your tongue up on the roof of your mouth. As you do that, widen or imagine that you're widening the nostrils, the nasal passageways. So it just becomes easier and easier for you to breathe deep. And with each breath, just kind of digesting the day, processing and noticing how you're feeling, processing any emotions maybe that come up or any thoughts that pass through. In some meditation practices, simply taking the seat is the practice, not necessarily clearing your mind, not necessarily keeping your gaze in a certain way or your hands in a certain way, but just coming back to the practice. So here we are, taking a seat. What is there to notice today? As you continue to breathe, let's draw the ear down lower for some diaphragmatic breath, letting the belly expand with your inhales and letting everything soften with your exhales. If you want some physical feedback, you could even bring your hands to your stomach or kind of the low rib cage. If you'd like to set a dedication or intention for your practice, feel free to bring something to mind now. Letting your chin come down toward the center of your chest, pausing there Let your shoulders relax down and away. Your right ear might rock over toward your right shoulder. You could tuck your left hand, your left arm behind your back. Just kind of feel into the left side of your neck there. You might turn your head down and up a couple times, just checking in with the left side of the neck. We're eventually switching on over to the other side. Take your sweet time. We'll go back and forth a couple times. If you liked having that other hand behind your back, let's bring the right arm or the right hand and arm behind the back as we let the left ear reach toward the left shoulder. Make sure it's comfortable here. If it feels like too much strain on your shoulder, you could kind of bring your hand down a little lower. Maybe just bring your hand back to your leg. Again, maybe looking with your left ear still by the left shoulder, maybe looking down and looking up a couple times, twisting through the neck. And let your chin come back down toward the center. We'll have a few more rounds of breath here, just exploring this movement side to side. Good. Keep going side to side or stop anywhere along the way to explore. Just make sure you're moving slow enough that you're present through as much of it as you can be. If you find sore spots or anywhere you want to work on a little bit, you could bring a hand or two up to massage your neck or your back. And then we're coming on up. Let's take 3 clearing breaths, inhaling through the nose, sigh through your mouth. 2 more like that, in through the nose, sigh it out. 1 more. All right. Let's switch the cross of your legs if they are crossed, taking any other little adjustments here. We're gonna find kind of an open arm position here. This is kind of going to be like a cow-like back. So we're kind of puffing the chest up, we're lifting the gaze. And then we'll round forward as if we have a cat back. So reaching the arms forward, pushing or reaching through the back, your spine. And we'll just move between those two at your own pace, possibly inhaling as you find that cactus arm, broadening through the collarbones. Maybe exhaling as you round forward. Keep exploring. You can add on any other little movements that might feel nice. Sometimes it can feel nice to bring your hands to your knees and just kind of use your knees as leverage. A little cat and cow-like action here. And then we're coming back up to center. Let's straighten out the legs here. So if you're sitting up on something, maybe coming down off of that for now, straightening your legs. And we're just gonna sit here. You can bring the legs out wide, a little or a lot, but don't go to your max, maybe like 75% max here. We're just gonna sit up tall. You can bring your fingertips to the floor and just kind of help yourself sit up tall here. We'll flex the ankles, so you're pulling your toes back toward you. And then do your best to kind of steer your thighs so that your toes are facing straight up toward the ceiling. Just see how that feels. So you might actually, like, as if your thigh had like a steering wheel on it, you might actually kind of move your leg side to side, just finding that sweet spot in the center. For many people, it will be with the toes straight up, but just see what it feels like to you. And then again, we're just keeping the flex of the ankles. We're sitting up nice and tall. Just take a few breaths here, maybe closing your eyes, just realizing how much energy it just takes to sit up tall. Flexing the legs. Maybe you can feel kind of a rush of heat or energy. All right, then we'll bend the right knee and we'll take a little twist toward the right side. So bringing your left hand to the right knee and your right hand to the floor behind you, sitting up nice and tall, checking in with your left foot again. We're flexing, we're keeping it in that kind of straight up position. And then we're twisting to the right. Feel free to stay right here or breathe and move in a dynamic way, inhaling as you unwind a little bit so you can take a full breath in, and then exhale as you gently twist toward the right. Take a couple more breaths like that, inhaling, unwinding, and exhaling to twist. One last time. Let's come on back to center. Let's switch sides right away. The right leg straightens, the left knee bends. And then we're bringing the right hand to the left knee, propping yourself up. Take a look at that right foot. Flex the ankle a little bit here and just see if we can keep that in position. Take a breath in and then exhale, twisting toward the left and looking toward the left. Inhale, unwind if you'd like. And exhaling, twisting back in. One more like that. Good. Coming back to center now. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. We can hold on to the feet if you want, or the knees or the shins. Doesn't matter how far close your feet are to your body. We're just going to see what works. Let's sit up nice and tall and just feel that the stretch happening there through the inner groin area. And you might kind of remember back in like elementary school, or like butterflies flying all over the world. Go ahead and steer a little bit here, moving side to side and maybe forward and back a little bit, just noticing different ways you can get some sensation in that area. Kind of a side to side swaying is really nice right now for me. Okay, if you like to round forward, we can go ahead and just take a nice gentle forward fold. Maybe holding onto the feet and pulling a little bit. Clearing breath if you would like, inhaling and then exhaling with a sigh. Letting your head be loose, maybe even swaying your head side to side a little bit. And then come on back up. Let's find our way to hands and knees next. So moving those props aside. If you're like me, there's all kinds of them. And we'll do a little cat and cow here too. If you want to straighten your legs, go ahead and straighten one at a time for a moment. And then whenever you're ready for your cat and cow, we'll just get right into that. Inhaling to cow pose with the belly lowering, the gaze and the tailbone lifting. And exhale, cat, rounding in through the spine, tucking your chin and tailbone. Keep going. Invite you to take kind of a humbling and honest look at what's more like a feel of which parts of your spine you feel you can articulate or move comfortably here. You might start that by, when you're in cow pose, you could start that by coming into cat pose from, with the pelvis leading, so tucking the tailbone under, and then seeing if there's anywhere along the way, anywhere along the spine that you feel you have more mobility or less mobility. Are there areas that you can sense? Or for me, there's like somewhere right around my low back. It's like I just can't even really feel what what happens there. I don't really feel like I have a good amount of articulation, but we're just exploring. Keep going through cat and cow a couple of times and just see, is there anywhere, any parts of your back to notice? Eventually, we'll end up in extended child's pose, bringing your knees out wide toward the edges of your mat and your big toes touching behind you. You might lower your seat toward your heels. You can always keep your seat a little higher and maybe come down to the forearms, or like a puppy dog pose. We're just keeping it's like a child's pose, but just the seat lifted. Finding that variation that you enjoyed today. And let's just be there with our diaphragmatic breath for about five breaths. So really focusing on expanding the belly with your inhales, letting something go with your exhales. All right, when you're ready, let's come back up to tabletop and then lower to stomach. We're coming on down, pressing the tops of the feet down into the mat. Maybe your forehead could rest on the floor or on a block for a second here as we get set up. Drawing your hands down by your sides. We're going to take half locust pose and just with the upper body. So with an inhale, let's lift through the head and the heart like we do in baby cobra, but this time we're imagining we're holding a giant beach ball behind your back, feeling your shoulders. You might bring them together a little bit more behind the back. Keep breathing and then lower down. We'll do that. We'll take about 2 breaths at the top, 2 breaths at the bottom. Just go ahead and relax. One more breath to prepare. And then inhale, locust pose with just the upper body. We're lifting and then pretending we're squeezing that big beach ball behind the back. Our palms face together. Taking one more breath in, tuck your chin slightly. So we have like a neutral neck position. And then exhale, lower down. We can stack the hands or the fists underneath the forehead. Find your crocodile pose here. Let your heels split out to the sides. Checking in with a little more diaphragmatic breath here. See if you can really press or feel that connection between the belly and the floor. We're very strong muscles we use to breathe. And then we'll press on up when you're ready. Back to tabletop for a moment. And we'll set up our first downward facing dog. Taking as many little detours to get there as you'd like. Eventually grabbing your blocks if you like them, curling your toes under, and making your way to downward dog. First and foremost, we always have to breathe. Of course. Maybe bending and straightening opposite knees a couple times here too. Active hands. We're reaching through the shoulders. So the The biceps are kind of close to the ears. All right, let's start to make our way to the top of the mat. We can bend the knees and look up toward your hands, stepping or walking your way to the top. Let's do a little ragdoll forward fold here. You could toe heel your feet out wider or a little closer together. Just letting the upper body hang kind of loose here. Maybe swaying a little bit. Definitely breathing still. At some point, bending and straightening both knees a couple of times. If you have your blocks handy, we'll start to walk the hands on the blocks over toward the right side. Feel a little side bend happening there through the lower left side. You might bend your right knee a little bit here as we twist to the right. Let your head be a little looser here. Maybe nodding your head yes or no for a moment. And we'll work our way to the other side, walking your hands and blocks over toward the left side. Any amount will do. And then create just a little more space there between the right side of the rib cage and the right hip point. The lower back side bend. Maybe bending that left knee a little bit. And then back to the center. Let's halfway lift here. So maybe toe heeling your feet in if that's comfortable. We'll slide the hands up to the thighs here and imagine a cow-like back. So we're really finding more of a straight back. It's really hard to do a cow spine in this position. So it's more like a neutral spine. A lot of times it feels like we're halfway up, but we're not. So I don't know if you have a way of kind of seeing where you're at. And then let's bend the knees a little bit and rise all the way up. Taking any little movements or a little bit of a shake when you get to the top. It can be an intuitive kind of shaking or maybe a lift and lower of the heels. Just kind of getting everything flowing and moving through your body. And then we're up near the top of our mat, taking a look down at your feet, down at the toes. Flip your palms to face the front of your space, Tadasana, mountain pose. With an inhale, let's reach the shoulders up toward the ears. And then exhale, circle them down and back. Let's do that again. Inhale, shoulders come forward and up. Exhale, down and back. One more like that. I really like the visual of like tucking your shoulder blades in your back pockets. Of course, you're not like back bending that far, but just feels kind of like you're doing that. All right, inhale, hands go high. Exhale, side bend to the right. The right hand lowers, the left arm reaches. Press down even more through both feet. Inhale, come up to center, reaching both hands high. Exhale, side bend to the left. Inhale, rise to center. And exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift, sliding the hands up to the thighs. Exhale, we're going to bring the hands down to the floor or block, stepping just the right foot back. Go ahead and lower your right knee down to the floor. We'll come up on the highest setting of the blocks if you're using them. Otherwise, you might interlace your fingers and rest them on top of your left thigh. Let's shift the hips forward about 50%. So if you know you can go like really far, you're just going like 50%. So you still have a little bit of muscle engagement happening here. Let's start to feel into the right hip flexor area, the front, and maybe a little on the side of that right hip. We can even like come up to our fists or fingertips, puffing that chest up, trying to get into like as much of a neutral spine as you can, meaning not really back bending, not really forward folding. And you could bend and straighten your left knee a little bit more so that you're getting that dynamic movement, or just hold. Eventually moving back to our half splits, pulling the hips back, peeling the left toes up off of the floor, and starting to straighten that left knee a little bit, finding your sweet spot. Puff the chest back up again. Just like for me, it really helps to come up to my fingertips here. Because we really do want to strengthen. We don't want to hold and support and prop ourselves too much. We're working and we're stretching. While we're here in our half splits, let's point the toes and then flex, or that left ankle. We're straightening, pointing through the left ankle and toes, and then flexing, and just see what's happening. And then go ahead and plant that left foot. Grab onto your blocks here. Let's curl the right toes under, pick up the right knee, and see if we can make it to three-legged down dog, lifting that left leg behind you. Big breath in, look down at your left toes, steer the toes down toward the floor. One more breath in, and exhale, step the left foot forward. And then the right at the top. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Press the floor away, inhale, rise up. Joining hands overhead. Exhale, hands come down to heart center, taking a few moments. Any little adjustments, or if you need a sip of water. Otherwise, we're here reflecting, being with that intention, if you set one. Let's take a clearing breath in through the nose. Nice big sigh to let it go. Inhale, reaching both hands high. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, hands come down to the floor or blocks. This time we're stepping just the left foot back and lowering the left knee down. Coming up to the highest setting on those blocks. And then sinking the hips forward and down, just like halfway again. So we still are holding our way up. We're not just sunk as far as we can go. Puffing the chest up, maybe coming up to the fingertips again, or interlacing your fingers on top of that right knee. You can kind of pulse here, maybe coming out of that stretch and back in. And eventually half splits next, pulling the hips back and peeling the right toes up off of the floor. Steering your right toes toward the sky. At some point, we'll do that same bending and straightening of the right ankle and toes. See if you can notice any differences there as you go. All right, planting that right foot. Let's grab our blocks, curl the left toes under, pick up that left knee, take a big breath in to prepare, and exhale, three-legged down dog with your right foot lifting. Big breath in, looking at the right toes, again, steering them down. One more breath in. Exhale, step your right foot to the outside of your right hand, the outside of your right hand, and then step your left foot up to the top as well. We're gonna end up in a little squat. So our feet are out wide, maybe setting up a little chair with your blocks, or bringing your hands to your knees and staying up here in a nice squat position, or eventually sinking a seat down toward your props, bringing the hands together at heart center, and the elbows in on the inside of the knees. We're always kind of, well, not always, but a lot of times we're aiming for that neutral spine. So even here, trying to have just a little less rounding. It's really easy to round forward in a squat here. So just puffing the chest up a little bit. 3 more breaths. Even slower, last 2 breaths. Let's start to rise back up. Maybe coming into that forward fold position and then rising up at your own way, at your own speed. And then we'll take a breath in to reach high and exhale, bringing hands to heart center for 3 breaths. Taking just another moment to see how things are. All right, when you're ready, let's take a clearing breath in through the nose and release. Let your hands come down. Let's do a little bit of balancing next. If you have a different surface you like to go to or anything, maybe clearing your mat so you have lots of good space. We're gonna do something a little different today. We're gonna work on our hamstring and glute strength as we balance. So unlike one-legged mountain pose where we go forward with the knee, we're gonna find our center of gravity here over the left foot. Then we're gonna start to bend the right knee. So we're bringing that right heel in toward the right glute. And then go ahead and straighten your right foot and set it back down on the floor. Let's do that a couple of times. We're gonna bend that right knee, pull the right foot or the right heel in toward the right glute, hold for a second, and then lower back down. Let's do that one more time on this side to start. This time let's hold. Let's hold at what feels like the top for you. You might even kind of feel your thigh, your hamstring, your glute here and just see, oh yeah, they are working. Trying to get that neutral spine again. I'm realizing I'm kind of back bending here, so I'm just gonna tighten up through my core. And then lower down. Oh, that left leg. Really feeling it. Okay, shifting over to the right foot. I'll just bend that right knee, or sorry, left knee, bringing it up, and then lowering it back down. Of course, holding on to anything for support. Doing that again. We're bending the left knee, pulling that left heel in toward the left glute, and then lowering down. On that last round, go ahead and stay lifted there until it feels a little intense. We're just checking in with our ability to hold intensity, our ability to stay present, even if it's hard. I'm definitely wobbling a little bit here. That's okay. Whenever you're ready, just go ahead and let that leg come down. Shake it out a little bit. Then we'll come on down to the floor. As always, got to get some novel movement in. So a little bit of balancing while we sneakily strengthen. Let's go ahead and roll all the way down to your back and pull your knees in toward your chest. When you get there, go ahead and roll, rock some weight, some massaging pressure around your back, maybe circling your knees or rocking. And then bringing the feet down to the floor. Let's go ahead and pick the left leg up and cross the left ankle just on top of your right thigh. So we're in that figure four position. We're gonna get a little twist with it here. So just letting your figure four legs sway from side to side a few times. If you want to add on a little twist of the neck, you could look in the opposite direction that your knees are twisting. Eventually coming back to figure four. We'll be here for just a couple more moments. You could push the hand into the left knee a little bit. And then we'll start to think about switching sides so that left leg, maybe straighten it a couple times before bringing it back down. This time the right leg lifts and crosses into that figure four position, left on the left thigh. And once again, we're getting a nice little twist going here, side to side through the legs, maybe adding on the twist of your neck in the opposite direction. You can continue with that twist as long as you'd like, and eventually just resting in figure four, right there at the center. Maybe pushing your right hand into the right knee or thigh a little bit. And then we'll start to lift that right leg up, straightening it a little bit here, and then lower it back down. We'll send the legs and the arms long in opposite direction. Long body stretch, reaching fingers and toes, maybe circling your ankles and wrists a little bit. Maybe you take a huge yawn, stretch your face and your jaw a little bit too. And then if there are any last poses, movements, stretches, whatever you need, if there's anything you'd like to do before your final rest, go ahead and do that now. Whenever you're ready, setting up a nice, comfortable place for you to rest. I'm going all out, bringing my bolster underneath my knees and a little blanket under my head. You might consider tucking your shoulder blades in underneath your back and then settling on in, especially if you have a tendency to kind of round forward like we all kind of do these days. Maybe closing your eyes or just settling on in a way that feels right and authentic to you. We'll once again find that proper oral posture, as it's called, with the lips sealed and the teeth just parted a little bit, your tongue resting or pressing up there on the roof of your mouth, widening your nostrils as you just feel a nice free flow of air. Unless you're congested, maybe you have some obstacles. Let's just see. Once your mouth kind of knows proper oral posture and you can just kind of keep it there, let's try to lessen the effort required to keep that focus with the mouth. Relaxing all those muscles around each of your eyes. If you want a quick little test of the ocular muscles, you could circle your eyes around in both directions and just see if there's any directions that feel a little tight or what have you. And then eventually just resting back in stillness. Let our minds focus on what happens in our own experience when we just try to keep that proper oral posture and breathe deep. Practicing keeping our focus, keeping our attention, our awareness on proper oral posture as we breathe deep. Whenever thoughts or distractions arise, just notice, and with an exhale, releasing those thoughts and checking back into our breathing awareness. Let's take about 10 more of these breaths, maybe counting as you go if that helps you. Your attention with the breath. Trying to make each part of the breath last as long as you comfortably can. Nice, full but slow breath in. Maybe a little pause at the top, expanding the space. And exhaling just as slow as you comfortably can. Keep breathing. Whenever you feel that you've taken that last 10th breath there, Let's seal it in with a round of humming through our exhales. So we'll just simply take a breath in and then hum any old note on your entire exhale. And then we'll rest in the resonance of that note, that humming, for just a few more breaths before reawakening. So as you're ready, big breath in through the nose. Mm. Eventually wiggling fingers and toes. Unless you want to stay longer, you can always stay. Gently reawakening, slight bigger movements. Eventually working your way to either side, finding the fetal position with your knees slightly tucked in. Whenever the timing is right, press your way on up to a comfortable seat. We'll join hands together at heart center. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and be free. And may our own thoughts, words, and actions somehow contribute to that happiness and freedom for all. Bringing thumbs up to third eye center. Let's take a little bow forward together, sealing in our practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace.